Thanks for joining us.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast. You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And we're back. It's to Israel we go. You know, my mechutin, Rudy Lowy, said you have to interview Stuart Hershkowitz, Esquire. He's so accomplished. He's done so much for the Jewish people, involved in so many different Jewish organizations. And I'm glad that he's finally joining us for our special broadcast now. He's president of the Orthodox Union Israel, chairman of Nishmat, chairman of Shagirim Balev, a matchmaking service for non-Orthodox Jews, over 350 shidduchim to its credit, board member of the Jerusalem Foundation, board member of World Mizrachi, board member of Netzach, that deals with educating Haredi youth in STEM systems. He's also one of the founders of Cross River Bank. He's on the board of OU America, just joined the board there. And he's also helping evacuees that were really lost their homes after October 7th. And to top it all off, he's being honored for his accomplishments over the years, especially relating to Jerusalem. On Jerusalem Day, he will be receiving the Yakir Yerushalayim Worthy Citizen of Jerusalem Award, the highest honor bestowed by the Jerusalem municipality. Stuart, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's really an honor, Zev, and I appreciate your inviting me to be on the show.
Thank you. There's so much to talk about, and I know you've been involved in so many different things, but here's the thing that intrigues me the most, is that there's been a divide in Israeli society between religious and non-religious, religious and secular, but there's also been a divide between Haredi religious and the Zionist religious, the national religious community. That's gotten worse after October 7th, because many in the national religious movement say we're defending the country. We lost some of our best boys, and they have, unfortunately. And they felt the Haredim were not joining the army, so there's been a divide. I know you're trying to heal the divide. You have programs at Jerusalem College of Technology where you have Haredim also being educated as part of the group. How do you see what's going on, and how do we heal the divide?
So that is really, really the question here in Israel in the last year. My yeshiva, I studied in Yeshivat Har Etzion. There are 15 students and alumni who've been killed. In Eli, you have over 25, close to 30, I believe. And these are very, very good yeshiva students. And there's obviously, and the ones who are in the army full-time, who've been last year and a half almost solely in the army, there's obviously a lot of very bad feeling in Israel about the Haredim not doing their share. Many of them are aware of it. If you speak to them off the record and not listen to the party line, they will tell you that they feel uncomfortable. But the way of life is different. And I think the thing that bothers them the most is the fear that the army is not a good influence on them religiously. And I'm not going to go into what I think, but I can tell you a little bit about where I think Israeli society is going. First of all, the Haredim within 20 some odd years will be 30% of the population of Israel. Now, if they're not working, and let's put the army on the side for a little bit, if they're not working, the country cannot afford to support on welfare a third of the population. It just won't work. It's not a model that can work. So something has to give. Now, I believe that the solution is one huge puzzle. There are so many different groups that are working on finding solutions, largely getting Haredim into the workplace. Our college, at Jerusalem College of Technology, Machon Lev, we have today, out of the 5,000 students, we have well over 30% who are Haredi. Now, they're studying computer science. They're studying not light things. And computers is a very good profession for them. You can set your own hours in many places. There's no problems of men and women, kashrut, and many of the big
But there's a
firms.
problem of being alone with a computer. Some Haredim would say it's like big yichud, right? Being a computer with internet access. Worse.
Well, one of the things is, of course, the type of phone that you have. The Haredim are not allowed to have smartphones in Israel, and they're very makpid on that. And computers, many of them, I remember speaking not long ago to one of our female students. She was working very late in one of the computer labs, and I asked her, why didn't you go home? She said she doesn't have a computer at home. She's not allowed to have a computer at home with internet, even though you have internet remote and all kinds of filters. She said she's not allowed to bring a computer home, so she had to do her homework in the college only, on the college's computers. So yes, so there are issues there. But I'll just give you a brief background of some of the initiatives that are out there. You have something called the Coalition. It is made up of 20 or so of the biggest American foundations that all have identified that Haredi employment is absolutely crucial for the future of the state of Israel. And whatever you think of Haredim, it is if you love Israel and you understand that this is not something that's sustainable, as I said, you're going to have to find a solution. So this coalition, made up, as I said, of the biggest foundations, has found different vocational programs for Haredim to get involved in. We in the college started for the first time about 2 or 3 years ago a non-academic track for all different kinds of vocational trainings. But I'll tell you about a very, very interesting program that we've been running now. I think this is the 5th or 6th year in the college. The seminars, the way it works in Israel, the Beis Yaakovs, and there are dozens and dozens of Haredi seminars all through Israel, several in Jerusalem, of course, that they don't allow the women to, well, they don't want them to go to college after they finish 12th grade, after they finish high school. So what they've done forever is have a 13th and 14th grade where they teach them some sort of vocation. It could be bookkeeping, it could be a very primitive kind of engineering, but we realized that won't quite work. So you have Startup Central, which is Elliot Singer, the Elliott Fund, I should say, Paul Singer, who started and put some money into going to the seminars themselves, getting the top computer professors in Israel to put together a high-level curriculum, and within the Haredi women's seminars, to teach them 13th and 14th grade very high-level computer science. Now, today, that's not enough to get them a college degree, but we do recognize a good amount of the credits. Over 50% of them continue to get their degree at the college, but many of them get hopped up as computer programmers, scientists, straight out of the 13th and 14th grade program. That's been very successful. We have hundreds of women in that program now, and as I said, it's the 6th or 7th year. I'll give you one other example. Accounting. Now, we have in the college, we have an accounting program, but the Haredi women, as I said, don't want to come to college. So the board, the CPA board in Israel, has agreed to let them study in the seminars high-level accounting, which is under our auspices of the college. They then are able to take the CPA exams without getting a college degree. And they do very, very well. The results have been very, very well. And I can give you dozens of examples like this. There are so many different ventures, so many different programs that are trying to help the Haredim get into gainful employment that I can go on for hours about it.
Now, what you mentioned, and this is true of the United States too, Haredi women tend to get a little better education than Haredi men, and they go into the workforce. But would you explain to me with the Jerusalem College of Technologies for Haredi women, what about Haredi men? Because if they don't go into
Great
the army, they're
question.
limited in what they can do,
Zev, you're
employment-wise.
absolutely right. Here's the problem, and you have this also in New York. Haredi men get zero STEM education, or in Israel, it's up until third or fourth grade where they get basic math, addition and subtraction. And so how do you get into a high-level computer science program when you've never studied English, math, or science? And that is a huge problem. And that's why less men come. Having said that, we have today over 700 men, and we have over 1,500 women. So it's probably double, it's actually about 1,400 women. It's about double the amount of women as men. There are also more options, but we'll get to that in a minute. So what we do is we put them through an incredible program. It's a one-year Machina program, where in 1 year we teach them English, math, and science. Science being physics, math is on a very, very high level, and the English is, unfortunately, it gives them the hardest time with the English because secular or many modern Orthodox people will watch TV, listen to the radio, whatever, and they don't. So they are coming many of them without even knowing what the ABC looks like. So it's a real challenge for us. But we if they succeed, and we have a dropout rate of about 25-30% in that first year, but if they succeed in this program, they get into the college like everybody else with no affirmative action.
Our guest is attorney Stuart Hershkowitz. He's going to receive the Akir Yerushalayim Worthy Citizen of Jerusalem Award on Jerusalem Day for his many activities, including being president of the Orthodox Union in Israel. He's also a vice president of the Jerusalem College of Technology and one of the founders of Cross River Bank in New York.
I actually retired, and now I'm working for the Jerusalem College of Technology as the chairman of the board and not getting paid.
Not getting paid. Okay. I would assume most of the endeavors, not only are you getting paid, you got to put money into it and resources, including helping the evacuees from Israel. By the way, you've been helping people who've been lost their homes, especially around the Lebanon area because of the conflict. And you've helped so many of them. I'm sure you've heard some incredible stories. You probably can write a book about it.
So on October 8th, I watching TV like everybody else, and no one knows what to do. Everyone wants to help. So what I did was I got in the car and I drove to the Ramada Hotel, which had 1,600 evacuees, largely actually from the south, from Sderot. Sderot was particularly hit. Many, many people were killed there. And we met the refugees. It's hard to call them refugees, the evacuees, who came shell-shocked. And unfortunately, they came women with little kids because all the men were in the army. Now, there's no playbook for this. So every day they came to me with their tzaras, and we tried to help whatever we could. We bought them washing machines. The hotel didn't have the facilities to wash for hundreds and hundreds of families, over 1,000. We bought them dryers. We had a problem with women who were nursing who didn't have a freezer, so we bought them a freezer to store their milk. We gave swimming lessons to all the kids because the hotel has a swimming pool, and we paid for every one of them to have a swimming lesson. They also needed bathing suits, but they all learned how to swim there. And then through the Jerusalem Foundation, we built a tent on the grounds of the hotel because the teenage kids were the ones who had the most difficulty. They had nowhere to go. They were locked in a small hotel room for over a year. So until we were able to find them facilities, a lot of them were having very, very big social problems, religious problems, all kinds of problems. And we tried our best in the hotel to really take care of them.
No, it's a very important work, and I know that there's going to be a lot happening after the war is over. But it would seem to me that while we were talking before about the Haredi national Zionist, the religious Zionist divide in Israel, but on the other hand, we found after October 7th, because of the tragic circumstance, a lot of Israelis who are not part of religion, weren't religious, so all of a sudden embracing Judaism, and you've seen even some of them that were hostages that came back and became more observant, being a hostage.
So I think that there's definitely been a lot of, I'd say, because of what happened in the army, and so many of the religious Zionist kids are in the army and are officers and are senior officers, that there's been a rapprochement between the religious and non-religious, for sure. Unfortunately, the Haredim are not in that. And there's a lot of anger from the religious Zionist world and from the secular world. The law that that they're working now on the Knesset to get Haredim into the army is one of the most controversial pieces of legislation that has been in Israel for many, many years, and it's still not clear how it will play out. The Haredim keep on threatening that they'll leave the government if it's not passed, but so far that hasn't happened, and it's a real hot potato politically.
The Stolen Karliner Rebbe, he has advocated those that are not learning should go into the army, and they've been, some of his followers, some others have attacked him for it.
So that's right. The point, Zev, is that the Haredi world in Israel is very not homogeneous. There are so many different aspects and so many different pieces of the puzzle. You have the Shas, who are Sephardi Haredi. You have the Hasidim. You have the Litvish. And you have many, and then you have Chabad. And you have so many different types that talking about them as one homogeneous group is very, very difficult. Some are more open, some are less open. There is still not one serious Haredi rabbi who has advocated to his Talmidim, at least publicly, to come to Jerusalem College of Technology, which is gender separate. It's a very religious atmosphere. There's a very active-based measure, but no one is advocating to come. There's still
maybe Stuart, you should change the name instead of Jerusalem College, Jerusalem Yeshiva of Technology.
So you know what? That's funny. There's one Chaver Knesset that I met, and he told me, take the word college out of your name. Just take the word college out, and we'll be okay. He sends 3 of his daughters to the college, but that's another story. But
Did you contemplate that, changing the name so this way they would, more of them would come? They would object on a college.
We can't, and you know what? And then it comes down. My son is a graduate of JCT, and he had more than a third of his class, almost half of his class, was Haredi. And the story is that, you know, that man bites dog is a story, but dog bites man is not. There were no problems in the class. Everyone got along well. Even the guys who were serving in the army or going to reserve duty, they had no problem with the Haredi guys in the class. They all got along very well, and that's really the story.
But that's not my point. My question was, it's everything is in labeling, it's in marketing and advertising. You know that. So calling it Jerusalem College of Technology is a turner for those that say I may want to go, but they're not going to say I'm going to the Jerusalem College. If you call it Jerusalem Yeshiva of Technology, whatever it might be,
yeah,
then
I'm not
they might
about that. The Council for Education requires us to put something like that in our name. In Hebrew, it comes out to the Lev Academic Center. We have to put the word academic in, or college, or one or the other. So, but I don't think that that's a major stumbling block, maybe for the leaders. Some of them, again, like I said, some of them have been to the college many times, and many of them say we won't step foot in the college, even though they send their kids to the college. It's a real problem. It's a real problem. I found that the Shas people are much more open. Many of the Shas members of Knesset have either served in the army or have either BAs or even MAs. There are many of them who are well educated. One is a lawyer. I mean, there's all different kinds in there. Like I said, it's very hard to look at it as a homogeneous group.
Well, 1948, the creation of the State of Israel, a lot of the Haredim did fight in the army. This is a
Yeah, so that's the
change
question,
today.
why not now? Right. And this was, at least in my humble opinion, it was a Milchemes mitzvah. And it's very, very clear that this is a Milchemes mitzvah. Everyone has to serve. The feeling in Israel is, I can tell you just feeling, I'm not necessarily talking about what I think, but feeling in Israel is that they're just not part of it. They don't really feel, and there are many exceptions, but as a rule, they're just not part of what's going on. I have a friend of mine who's very active in the Aguda, who just came to Israel, and he told me in Meir Sharim and in Gula, you wouldn't know there's a war going on. Everywhere else, in our shul here, where I live in Jerusalem, all the young people, either they're not there or they come in their uniform when they can. So it's something that is very, very obvious, very blatant, and you just don't feel that they're part of it.
No, unfortunately, and I'm not sure what the answer is, even though we had Eli Pali, the publisher of the Mishpacha magazine group in Israel, came up with what I thought was an interesting solution. He approached UJ Federation and other groups that Haredi men, when they get to be 25 years of age, should be mandatory to do homeland security and other things. And I think it's a good solution, but I don't think it's gotten very far. And I know that there's this big divide in Israel. I'm not sure how it's going to be bridged, because you have the Haredi world, a lot of them are digging in and coming out against the state and some of the pronunciations, and you have the religious Zionists that are so committed and lost so many outstanding young men for the country.
So Eli Pillay is a very good friend of mine, and I'm on his board of the Machon Haredi, which is a Haredi think tank, and he's really trying. He had a very big conference last week that I attended, and he spoke a little bit about the idea that you said. I don't know how many people will buy into it. I don't know that that's really the solution.
I think it's a solution to consider.
It's a solution to consider. I'm not against it. I just don't know that it will really work. The talk now, I don't know how many of our viewers or listeners know where the law stands, but the law is talking about 3,000 Haredim a year going into the army. Not clear what happens if they don't reach that number. Basically, there's no sanctions if they don't reach that number. And many of the members of Knesset, including Bezalel Smotrich, are talking about a minimum of 5,000 and sanctions if they don't go in. In other words, what I think at the end of the day will happen is that people who don't serve will not get government benefits. Maybe not sanctioned, maybe they won't be fined, but they won't be eligible for government housing. They won't be eligible for all kinds of child care benefits. I think that's the direction it's headed, but again, no one has a clue today where it will end up. It's too much of a hot potato.
Only a few moments left. I know that you're so involved in Jewish education and bridging the gap. Your father, Marvin, I understand, also had an educational addition to Yeshiva University.
Yeah, so my father, in his day, was one of the best basketball players in the United States. He still is the only, he was All-America twice. And when he was in City College on the team that won both the NCAA and the NIT, the only team ever to do it. He was on the freshman team, and in that freshman year, he decided he was going to become religious. He was always traditional, and he wanted to go to Yeshiva University. The problem with Yeshiva University was that he couldn't pass the entrance exam, the Bechina, to get into the base metric. At that time, that was the requirement. So Dr. Belkin set up JSS for him. It was called the Jewish Studies Program, run by Rabbi Bezdin. And he was a very good Jackie Robinson because he was very committed to learning. And he was also one of the best basketball players YU has ever had. So he had a very, very big influence in my life. He passed away 3 years ago, and I miss him very much. I mentioned to you the story that I was all ready after my first year in yeshiva in Israel to come back to YU. And my father came to visit me over Pesach in Israel, and he said, listen, I see what happened to you this year, and I see what happened to your friends. Don't come home. Go back to yeshiva next year, which is highly unusual. And I'm still here 50 years later. So
wow, amazing. And you play basketball too with the same passion as your father?
I come up to his ankles in terms of how good I am, but I did play in high school when I was still in the States.
But one thing I can say is you play ball with all different kinds of people in Israel. So that's important. And I want to wish you, Attorney Stuart Hershkowitz, I want to wish you mazel tov on receiving the Yakir Yerushalayim Worthy Citizen of Jerusalem Award on Jerusalem Day for his many activities, including being president of the Orthodox Union. He's chair of Jewish College Technology. He's one of the founding members of Cross River Bank, among some of the other major accomplishments, including getting non-Orthodox singles to Shidduchim. How's that going, by the way, as we close out?
That's a great project. Actually, I love that project. We have 358 shidduchim, all from the religious Zionist world. We're trying to get some traction in the States also. I'm doing that through the OU and through World Mizrahi. What it is, it's just a very interesting program. You sign up, if you have a friend who's single, you sign up as his ambassador. And then when you get on board, we send you 5 names of women who, through our AI, would fit his credentials. What happens is, then you talk to their ambassador, and only after both ambassadors decide that it makes sense, do the couple themselves get involved. We know what happens on every date. We keep a very, very close tab on what goes on. Like I said, it's been beyond successful.
I'm looking forward to seeing the United States. Big need for the United States, too. So thank you for joining us. So many different groups I've neglected to mention, also on the World Mizrahi board, to name some of them. Stuart, thank you for being part of our show. Look forward to having you back again.
Thank you, Zev. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, the pulse beat of the Jewish community.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Terrific. Good job.
Thank you so much, Zev. I really appreciate it. And